Hey, this is Dan Moralez, and this is Homebuyer Radio, episode number 15. And this week I want to talk about your mortgage team. It is, if you will, the team of players that are going to be working together to get your home loan across the finish line. Now, a lot of times what happens is, we don't take a lot of time, throughout this process to really talk about what everybody does on the team and what role they play and the importance of each one of the team members, if you will. So in this week's episode, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what we do, the people that are involved in the process, and how we work together to make sure we get your home loan approved as quickly as possible. Now, as the team leader or the quarterback of the team, if you will, that's me, your loan officer. My job is to work with you to structure your transaction, to be able to figure out what options you have available to you, what's going to be the most favorable and best way to put together your loan, and how does that meet the objectives that you have for your long-term financial picture and just your long-term goals as far as what you're hoping to accomplish. Now, my job is to kind of decipher and sift through all of the different options and help you find those best options that, if you will, help you meet that long-term objective. Of course, our primary objective is being able to own a home, but we also want to be able to position you to meet your long-term financial goals. And sometimes different mortgage options will do that better than other ones. So that's part of what my job is. And working with me, I have two loan officer assistants. One is Lauren Kuiper, and the other one is Emily Norris. Now, what Lauren does is Lauren kind of helps me to keep everything moving forward. So a lot of times you may have already talked to Lauren as part of the loan process because she does some of the initial scheduling and lining things up for us to meet and kind of keeping the ball moving forward. And then Emily Norris works behind the scenes a little bit more, where Emily is, once you have an accepted offer put together, Emily is kind of the lead person that takes charge of that and kind of gets everything moving forward full speed ahead, so that we've got appraisals and title work and all that stuff kind of ordered and going. And then working behind those two loan officer assistants is my processor. And my processor is Diana Headings. Diana's been with me since, I want to say the early 90s that her and I have worked together. But what Diana does is Diana kind of compiles all of the pieces of documentation that are necessary to get your loan approved. Now, out of all the people in the process that you kind of work through, you're going to talk to me a lot. We're going to trade a lot of email. We're going to probably trade some text messages, and we're going to have a lot of conversations to kind of line everything up from the point where you get pre-approved to the point where you actually find a house and we actually make the final loan, if you will, selection and get everything moving forward. And then you're going to talk a lot to Diana. What Diana's going to do is she's going to work closely with you to document your file, to get all the pieces of documentation that are necessary to get your loan approved. Now, it's super important that, as a client, you're responsive to her to getting her the pieces of documentation she needs to get your loan approved. And again, Diana's role is that of a loan processor. Now, after the loan processor, you have what is known as the loan underwriter. Now, in our case, our loan underwriter is Lori Top. Lori has also worked with me since 1993 as well, too. And Lori has been our underwriter for, probably the last 10 to 15 years. And the nice part about what we do with the mortgage process is everything that's done with your loan is done within the four walls of our office. So we process, close, and fund your loan right out of our office, as opposed to having to ship your file to an underwriter, on the other side of the country in a far and distant land that doesn't necessarily understand West Michigan or the area in which you're purchasing your home. So the good part is, everything's done local. We've all worked together for a long time. We all know each other, and we have a really solid workflow and process together. Now, after the loan underwriter, you have a loan closer. And a loan closer is the person who prepares all the documents for closing and ships everything over to the attorney or title company that will be conducting the closing. And that person is the person that's responsible for preparing all the documentation to make sure everything is in line with the initial mortgage product that you selected as part of the process. So we work closely as a team. You have yourself, myself, if you will, as loan officer. You have my lending assistants that kind of help direct traffic and keep everything moving forward. Our loan processor, Diana, who, if you will, assembles all the documentation to get everything together for our final loan approval. It all goes over to our loan underwriter, underwriter, who is Lori Top. She's the person that makes the final decision on your loan and gives the final approval. And then, of course, from there, it goes to our loan closer, which is Tina Dykstra. Tina is the one who prepares all the documentation, sends everything off to the title company, and then we're on our way from there. And then, of course, you have your closing with the attorney or title company that's going to conduct the closing for us. So just a very quick summary of kind of the players on the team that kind of work together to make sure everything gets done and put together for you. The biggest player on the team is, of course, you. And what I mean by that is your cooperation and your willingness to help us put together all the documentation and things necessary to get your loan approved are super important, because without your cooperation, this process can take much longer than what it needs to. Now, I do remind you that as part of the mortgage process, there is a fair amount of documentation, and some of it can seem a little nitpicky. I usually tell clients, if at some point you don't feel violated as part of the mortgage process, we didn't do our job. I know it sounds kind of bad, and it's almost a bad humor, but the reason I say that is because there's a fair amount of documentation, and it can seem a little invasive, with the amount of documentation that we ask for. And of course, some of it is very personal in nature. But the reason we ask for the documentation is so that we can compile everything necessary to get your loan approved. Without having your cooperation, it can be hard to get your loan approved in a quick and timely manner. So make sure you cooperate. Again, my name is Dan Moralez with Northpointe Bank. This is Homebuyer Radio. My NMLS number is 709-729, and Northpointe Bank is an equal housing lender.